Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV. And we're coming to you around the world tonight on the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net. And on a brand new affiliate that we are with, and that is Classic 1220 CFAJ right here, just down the street here in St. Catharines. And their website is www.classic1220.ca. Exonation, my first guest tonight is Brooks Agnew. We're going to be talking to Brooks about the current space programs and exploration of the moon. Joining me now from Concord, North Carolina is Brooks Agnew. And Brooks, welcome back to the X Zone. Always great having you with us, sir.
Thank you so much, Rob. Good to be here.
Brooks, for the listeners who may not have had the pleasure of hearing you the last time you were on the show, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, my. Well, I am what they call a master engineer. I have multiple disciplines in the engineering field. I have been consulting with the Fortune 100 for, I just retired in June, so it was 27 years. And we've created entire industries, usually in high-speed manufacturing, medical products, space exploration products, and even subspace communication.
Fascinating work. What does it feel like to be retired after the busy life you led?
Well, that's when you really start working, I found out.
I was
behind a computer screen.
I was talking to a couple of people the other day, and one of the biggest mysteries in life right now is why these are called the golden years.
Well, I dropped 21 pounds since June, and so I feel really good.
Good for you.
I'm working my 30-year-old friends into the dirt, and it feels good to be outside doing stuff instead of inside taking orders.
Well, again, thank you very much for joining us. It's always great having you here on the show over the many years that you've been with us. Now, Let's try and bring our listeners up to date about what is happening in the current space program. Where are we with all this, Brooks?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'll tell you, we are not where we thought we were going to be 2 years ago. This space exploration is a multinational effort. It takes not only multiple bank accounts, but it takes multiple brain trusts to solve all the problems and put all the pieces together to make a whole full program work. It all isn't just SpaceX. They just built the rockets. Everybody else builds the space programs that goes on those rockets. So we really wanted to be further along with a program we call the Gateway Project, which utilizes things like Artemis, which is a utilization of the Orion capsule, which we just recently tested by sending it around the moon and back and splashing it down with monitor sensors inside of it to make sure it can go through the Van Allen radiation belts with humans on the inside. And we haven't even crunched the data from that yet, because half the team that we had in the Gateway Project is involved in other things, and we can't even buy Russian dressing right now, let alone coordinate with our Russian counterparts.
Are we actively preparing, in your opinion, to go back to the moon and colonize the moon, as well as doing mining exploration on the moon?
Yes, absolutely. We've been aiming for that since the early 70s. We got sidetracked several times. But that was before the L-Cross mission in 2006, when we discovered high concentrations of helium-3 on the south pole of the moon. Everybody wants to get there. Everybody wants to explore it and make sure that we can mine it. The Indians just sent their Chandrayaan-3 up there, but they didn't have enough money to put plutonium batteries on it, so it died in 7 days. All that work to die in the cold.
Wow. Now, the moon is, I would imagine, up for grabs by anybody. Who has legal claim to the real estate on the moon?
Oh, well, I do. No, I don't think anybody does. I think it's the frontier.
Yeah.
Right now, let's see, we took 2 of the satellites that went up with the Themis probe, which was originally 5 satellites that were sent up to measure the origin of the auroras around the Earth. 2 of those satellites were relocated to the moon, and they're being joined by other satellites that called CubeSats that we're building to send to the moon, to orbit the moon, to act like a GPS system around the moon like we have around the Earth. Right now, we have to use the GPS system around the Earth to navigate on the moon. It's a long ways away, and we don't really get good resolution. So we really need a GPS system on the moon or around the moon so that we can navigate the rather lumpy gravity fields around the moon and land safely, but also so we can find our way around on the ground. There are no landmarks to go by.
Now, aren't CubeSats very small satellites?
Yeah, they are. They're about the size of a drink cooler. And they're fairly generic in the sense that they use like Arduino boards and Zigbee boards and things that we use all the time in electronics. Some of the cyber protections are a little more advanced, but they're cheap. They are adaptable. They are inheritable to future programs, and then we're using them all the time.
Let's look into the future a little bit here, Brooks. We have the United States, we have Russia, we have China, we have India. All up there. We can't get together here on this planet. How in the name of heaven do you think that looking at the next frontier, we're going to get along up there? And who's going to police it?
The word we is a little bit liberal. We as far as governments is a little bit different than we as far as a scientific community. I was in a board meeting with, I can't say the name of the company, but it was Fortune 103. And this was in, I want to say the summer of 2022. And they made an announcement that they were no longer going to do business with Russia. And this is a big company, a global company. So the next morning's meeting, I said, well, I would like a moment of silence for all the Russian firefighters that have to go into burning buildings now without our products. And they didn't get it. They didn't understand. 9 months later, that company laid off 11% of its workforce.
Good God.
Yeah, that is what happens when governments start sticking their politics into engineering and manufacturing and the scientific community. And let me tell you, the scientific community, we don't buy that shit. We don't put up with it.
Hypothetically, the colonization of the moon and mining on the moon, the extraction of helium-3, do you think that this venture by all the different countries may indeed or in fact lead to world peace?
I do. And the reason is because the Shackelford crater, which was identified by the L-Cross mission in 2006 as having basically a Mount Everest-sized deposit of helium-3 in one place, has enough fuel to power the Earth for 10,000 years. And the source is so cheap that you could literally give the electricity away for the benefit that you would get in return for the work that could be done by it. There would be no more scarcity of energy on Earth for multiple millennia.
How would we get the helium-3 back here to Earth once it's mined?
Well, there are 3 programs that we are entertaining, and they all have their feasibilities. One is to colonize the moon and to make the energy first on the moon, because there are 3 benefits from this energy: fuel, oxygen and water, and also energy. So like electricity directly from the helium-3 and also from the heat that can be put off from it. It's not radioactive, so there's no nuclear waste. There's no high-energy neutrons from it, only protons, which, as you know, can be attracted by electrical grids and
Right.
make electricity directly from the reaction. But you can also pressurize and create atmospheres in the lava tubes, which some of them are the size of the city of Philadelphia, inside the moon, and actually create a colony with a lower gravity, but an atmosphere just like we have here on Earth. The second is to move that energy into space because of the microgravity and because of the absence of air. Managing the plasma from the reaction becomes much cheaper, and you make the energy in space and then beam it to Earth to receiving stations, so we don't even have to have structures here on the Earth except for antennas. And the third is to transport the helium-3 to the Earth and build a facility to handle the helium fusion here on the Earth. Now, we've been building that facility for 55 years, and we're not done yet.
So we can also see the advantage of mining and sending back the helium-3 here to this planet to help with climate control.
Yes. I mean, it wouldn't create any more CO2. It wouldn't be creating any radioactivity. The only thing you would be creating as a byproduct is helium-4, which makes up a small part of our atmosphere, and we fill party balloons with it. It's pretty much harmless.
Fascinating. When is the first mission planned to go back to the moon?
It was 9 months ago. We're having issues, some with the FAA. Getting Starship into orbit has been a real challenge. That's part of the Gateway project. The other is getting the data from the first Orion run, so we know that it's feasible to put men past the Van Allen belt.
Yeah.
We haven't crunched that data yet. And it's basically because the budgets that we lobbied for a decade and managed to get some of it, it's all been robbed by Washington to use for other things. I think most of the money's been sent to Ukraine.
All right, Brooks, please stand by. Exonation Brooks Agnew is our special guest, www.brooksagnew.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Check us out at www.xzoneradiotv.com. We'll be back after the short break. Don't go away. And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. Brooks Agnew is my very special guest. www.brooksagnew.com. Before we were talking about the planned lunar mission to go back to the moon, and so looking at the big picture, Brooks, when do you think that we'll actually get there again? With a manned mission, that is.
Well, that's a super good question. I think it could actually happen next year. We've had setbacks with things like the space suit itself. There are over 300 contractors that are required to build a space suit for that kind of mission, and many of those had problems during the government shutdown for a couple of years. So that's behind schedule. There are companies that have stepped up, like SpaceX and some other private contractors. I can't mention their names right now, but they said they could expedite the program and speed up the building of the spacesuits. We have a bigger mission, and that is that the cislunar space, that's the space between Earth and the moon, needs to be sophisticated. That's part of the Gateway project also, is lifting fuel into deep orbit so that we can refuel spacecraft the same way we refuel aircraft in space. That way we don't have to lift all the fuel at one time. And that makes the mission much more feasible. Then we also need to put more equipment on the moon. You can't just go up there with guys, with pickaxes and burlap bags like we did in the 60s and 70s. We have to have equipment up there, rovers and habitats and driving equipment and earth-moving equipment and sophisticated scanning equipment so that we can find what we're looking for. And that hasn't been sent up yet. So once the cislunar space is developed, then we begin building the cis-Mars space. This is the space between the moon and Mars. Right now it takes us 7 months to get there. But if we can make helium fusion rocketry work, which we theoretically believe we can in space, we can shorten that time to 70 days. That makes Mars much more feasible. And people ask me all the time, why do you want to go to Mars? Because Mars is the gateway to the asteroid belt. And we just got back from the asteroid belt last month with samples that we went and collected. It took 2 years to get them, but it worked.
And what did we find out about the asteroid belt, and how would it further humanity by mining the asteroid belt?
Well, Earth humanity and off-world humanity are two different things. The asteroid belt's really for our solar system, the final frontier for mining, for exploration. If we get to Mars, there's no point in going to Mars unless we mine the asteroid belt, because that's where the raw materials are to build any kind of colony on the Mars. If we want to move asteroids, small asteroids, to say gravity wells around the Earth, we could do that and have enough gold or platinum or iron or titanium to last for 1,000 years.
Let me ask you this, and I don't know if this is an off-the-wall question or not, but when we look at the work and the money and the resources that we're putting into getting back to the moon and then using the moon as, I would imagine, a jumping-off point, not only for Mars, but the asteroid belt, doesn't it beg to ask the question, well, wouldn't that money be better spent on Earth right now with all the problems that Earth is facing? And once these problems are solved on this planet, then we go exploring and mining off planet?
Well, that's sort of like saying, if we look at this barn that we have, or the silo we have, and it's full of wheat, wouldn't it be better to make bread now and eat that wheat rather than plant it in the soil and grow wheat for next year? We have problems right now.
Right. But
this is not an expenditure. This is an investment, and it will pay off 10,000 to 1.
I agree with you, Brooke. But when I look at the situation the world is in, we mentioned the war in Ukraine. We look at the health industry. We look at the homelessness, the hungry. Now, and looking at both sides of the coin here, yes, I understand how the exploration of space will help humanity as an investment. But how does that help us? How does that help the people who are suffering these issues today on this planet? How come we don't do as much exploration into the oceans of this planet? And, here it is right here. We don't know what's in the ocean, but we seem to want to know what's out in outer space. So how do we justify the cost, the reality, and the impact on humanity? Well,
we justify it by looking at the future. Obviously, we look at our current situation, and we see ourselves $33 trillion in debt, at least our country is. And that debt quadrupled in 16 years. And it quadrupled for really no good reason. We didn't invest in anything. We just squandered the money. So at some point you have to have fiscal discipline and say, United States, you have 650 agencies, departments, bureaus, and administrations. What a corporation would do if it was in debt like this and saw no way to pay the interest on the debt, it would start downsizing. Cut that down to 300 agencies, and then come back and let's talk.
As you were talking, my next question was going to be to you: should we run the country as a business instead of a government?
Well, we tried that, but the government hated the business and tried to kill him. So, and we're in that problem right now.
One of the big questions that was very popular years ago was the weaponization of space. In your opinion, have we already done that?
Yes, we have. I was one of the authors of the Peace and Space Initiative that we read to the UN Security Council and or the General Assembly. And it basically fell on deaf ears because we've been weaponizing space since the late 70s. Everyone has. And I wish we would never have started, but now it appears that he who controls the moon is going to control the world. We'll just, the race is on. That's all I can tell you. The race is on.
Taking a look at the big picture, do you think that humans actually evolved on this planet, or do you think that humans are from other planets that were seeded here on this planet?
And I have a degree in biology, and one of the things that I know about life is in order to evolve, you have to be driven by the environment itself. If you look at human DNA, it is absolutely impossible for it to have evolved on this planet. There are so many capabilities in human DNA that are not expressed on this planet. They were built and designed somewhere else. It adapted to this planet, but it wasn't developed on this planet.
So that would lead me to my next question. Do you believe that this planet is currently being visited by extraterrestrials?
Well, why not? I mean, by the time you get out of the book of Genesis, you're introduced to 5 different races, none of whom are from here.
So if that is fact, why then the suppression of the information by the governments of the world to deny the existence of aliens and extraterrestrials from other places?
Well, this is the billion-dollar question, because it's kind of a binary question. If there are ETs and they only choose to work with governments, we're in big trouble, human race. But if the governments are working with the ETs, what did they trade to them for those secrets?
So we're looking back at the early days, the 50s and late 40s, MJ-12 and other theories about the governments of the world working with the aliens.
Yeah, I don't know much about the theories, but I know a lot about the facts and the hypotheses. And if aliens have been visiting this Earth for a long, long time, I would say go back about 150 years, there were no governments to deal with. There were only tribes, there were only civilizations, there were only colonies to deal with. Now we have governments. So why are the ETs, it appears, only dealing with people in the most secret aspects of our government and not the general public? Why are they communicating with them and not communicating with us? That worries me greatly.
All right, so why don't the aliens, in your opinion, if they are out there, if they are visiting this planet, if they have been monitoring and have been, pushing us along and dealing with the governments, since governments have become the fashionable statement in most democratic countries, why don't they just land? Why all the cloak and dagger? Why not open the drapes and look at the man behind the curtain?
Well, see, that leads us to very dark and nefarious conclusions, because if the answer to that is because they choose to work only with the leaders of this world, then it means that the off-worlders or the ETs are running this world. And look where we are right now. We're on the verge of World War III again.
Yeah. Here's my final question before we have to go for our next break. If there came a time where one of the countries was going to push that nuclear button that would cause total annihilation of this planet, do you think that the ETs would intervene?
Wow, that's a really good question.
How about I give you a little bit of time to think it over, and we'll come back on the other side of this break, and I'd love to hear your answer. All right,
Okay.
Exonation, my guest this hour is Brooks Agnew. His website is www.brooksagnew.com, and we'll be back discussing this topic and much more. If there was going to be a nuclear war, one of the countries who was going to press that button, would the ETs step in and say, you can't do that? We'll be back on the other side of the break. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and on 1220 CFAJ Classic Radio, right here in St. Catharines, classic1220.ca. I'm Rob McConnell, and welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Today on the X-Zone, Bessie, the lake monster of Lake Erie. From the time the ice starts to break and flow on Lake Erie, monster trackers start their never-ending quest to prove the existence of Lake Erie's monster, Bessie. When it comes to looking for Bessie, internet provider and developer Dirk Vanderploeg of Hamilton, Ontario, starts his electronic and physical search from his Lake Erie cottage. Using a television camera that is equipped with night vision technology connected to a computer, Vanderploeg and his group of dedicated monster trackers around the world spend countless hours watching computer screens in the hope to get a glimpse of the elusive Bessie at www.monstertracker.com. Spring through fall, Vanderploeg and people along Lake Erie shoreline continue their search for proof that the elusive and legendary Bessie does in fact exist.
Time and time again I see a love that seems strong was not meant to be. Broken hearts don't always mend, left too unsure to try love again. But just between you and me.
Welcome back, everyone. Brooks Agnew is our special guest this hour, www.brooksagnew.com. Brooks, the question I asked before we went to the break was, if there was going to be a nuclear exchange between countries here on this planet, which undoubtedly would lead to the devastation of this beautiful little planet, do you think that the ETs would intervene and say, guys, no way?
When I was in the Air Force, I was stationed at the tropical paradise of Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
I know where that is. It's just over the border from Winnipeg. I helped service some of the missile silos out there in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the winter. So I had great respect for a story that was recounted by Colonel Robert Solis.
Yeah.
When he was doing a launch simulation. This isn't actually a launch. This is where they roll back the doors and they do a launch simulation. Now, missile silos are autonomous systems. They're very hard to get into. They have their own power supplies, filters, surge protectors, all kinds of stuff to protect them in the case of like an EMP. To get 6 of them to coordinate a missile test is very tough to do. But he reported that a UFO flew over the test area and disabled all 6 of those missile silos. So I think they have the capability. I think if they, and evidently when we do blow off one of these things, and we've done it about 2,600 times on this planet, I think it rattles the China cabinets through the dimensions. And I think that they would step in and say no.
And of course, we're talking about the event at Malmstrom Air Force Base, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So why do you think that this little blue planet, the third rock from the sun, is so special and unique?
Well, this is the greatest show in the universe here. We've looked for about 20,000 light years in every different direction with all the instruments that we have. We haven't seen any planet like this. This is a very unique planet, very special planet on the outer rim of the Milky Way galaxy. And evidently it has drawn a lot of attention of the local neighborhood. And we're on the threshold. We're on the threshold of being something great or being something terrible in this universe.
What's your bet?
I think we're going to be something great. I think that the people that have great potential, great hope, great love, great dreams far outnumber the ones who have dark plans and who think that all there is to life is laundering taxpayer money through foreign countries to make yourself rich. Those people are few and far between, and they are going to lose power.
But are they going to lose power soon enough, Brooks?
I think it's going to happen by next weekend.
Next weekend? What happens
why
next
not?
weekend?
We have the power in our hands. All we have to have is the courage.
All right, for our Canadian listeners, what is the significance about next weekend in the U.S.?
No significance. I mean, we're getting close to Thanksgiving. Why not just stop procrastinating and make it happen?
Well, I'd love to see that happen.
You and me both, and
Yeah.
I think we're not alone. We have a lot of listeners out there that feel the same way we do.
That's true. I understand that you experienced a rift in time.
What was that?
I understand that you might have had a lost time incident.
Oh, my goodness, yes. This goes back to the summer of 1965.
Oh, yeah.
My mother and I were camping up in the Sierra Nevadas. I know you know where that is.
Yep.
We were up above the tree line in a campsite in a campground, but I think we were the only people staying there. And I got up early on Saturday morning, and my mother and my grandparents didn't want to get up early, so I said, well, I'm going to walk up a few yards here and go cast in this creek and see if I can catch a trout. Well, that didn't happen. I made it to the creek, and I cast it a few times, but you know how 8-year-olds are. You just get bored.
Yep.
And so probably skipped a few stones and then picked up my rod and my tackle box and walked back to the campsite. But as I rounded the corner to get back to the campsite, the mint green Ranger truck was there at our site, and my mother was fully dressed and standing in front of our campsite with her arms folded, and I knew somebody was in trouble, and it was probably me. And as I showed up, they, basically said, where have you been? I said, well, I told you where I was. I was just up there, casting in the creek. And as it turns out, I had been gone all day, and it was only, to me, maybe 45 minutes. No, it was almost 5 p.m. in the evening. Well, lots of kids have lost time like that. That's nothing special. But when I got back to school, and school started, everything changed. Everything changed. Everything came to me so easy after that. All the math, all the reading, all the science. I was no longer a kid. I was like a grown-up in a kid's body. And by the time I was in the 8th grade, I was one of the top math students in the state of California. The newspaper came to interview me, and they asked me what did I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said, easy, I want to be an asteroid miner. That was 1968.
What do you think happened?
I've gone back so many times in my mind, meditation, thinking, dreaming, trying to remember what happened that day, and I just can't seem to break through. It's like somebody opened the top of my head and poured the full encyclopedia in it.
Why does it seem sometimes, Brooke, like we've been here as a society before? Like this isn't the first time around for us. And if it's not the first time around for us, what happened before?
I think it probably has not been the first time for us. I think we've had many, many mortal lives. And each time we have one, we learn something new. And some of that knowledge goes forward with us. I call it light memory. Mm-hmm. We have two other forms of memory. We have star memory and we have chemical memory. The chemical memory comes through our DNA from our parents and our lineage. And the star memory comes from the matter that was used to build our physical bodies as we were being gestated. All matter is created by stars, and all matter is entangled with other matter created by those stars. So it makes sense that the matter that's used to build our first body before we spit the amniotic fluid out of our nose was entangled with those stars. So we have those three types of memory that come into us when we're born. But we can't even wipe our own butts until we're 2 or maybe 3, and sometimes 15. And, by the time we get our legs, we've forgotten who we were. We just have to remember who we are.
It's, this existence of ours, to me, at times seems very, very strange. For example, the moment we're conceived is the moment we start to die. And many people believe in reincarnation, Brooks. What is your opinion on that?
I totally believe in reincarnation. In fact, it's not a belief to me. It's like pure knowledge to me. I have knowledge that I have remembered from previous existences. And by the way, not all of them human.
What is your most memorable past life experience?
1,800 light years from here was a planet called Findara. At least that's what I remember the name as being. And it was destroyed by a red giant star near the star Cygnus. I died on that planet and woke up here.
We hear a lot about doom and gloom these days. Are we at the end of the age? Are we in the days of the apocalypse that has been talked about in the Bible? Or is this where we realize how bad we've screwed this planet up, how bad we've screwed everything up, and we kind of look at each other and say, hey, let's work together to make this the very best planet that we can. And we drop the weapons, we drop all the hate, we drop the racism, and we actually work together and come together as one solid humanity.
It could very well be that there are more people alive on this planet than have ever lived on it. I think we've had other zeniths, yes, but in the last couple hundred years, we learned to fly, we learned to make electricity, we learned to, travel the oceans and travel to space. Yeah. There are now 8 billion of us on this planet. We have a hell of a consciousness signal on this planet, and I think most people are good, but I do think there is a dark streak in our lineage, at least in our current society. And we need to learn how to turn our light up so that darkness is driven back into the shadows. I don't think it can be done with bullets. I think it needs to be done with talking and with diplomacy. And all of this backroom, smoke-filled, dungeon dealing that's been going on for the last, maybe 100 years since the Civil War, it's got to end. It has to end, or it's going to end us.
Brooks, stand by, my friend. We've got to take our final break. And Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about our very special guest of this hour, Brooks Agnew, visit him online at www.brooksagnew.com. When we come back, we're going to tell you about a few of the books that Brooks has written and how you can get them. Very enlightening, positive outlook. This is what the world needs now. We need positive thinkers and people who understand, like Brooks said, it takes peace, it takes people working together, and not bullets. I'm Rob McConnell. We'll be back. Don't go away. I'm Rob McConnell, and welcome to the X Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Today on the X Zone, do vampires really exist? Do vampires really exist? In creating Dracula, Irish author Bram Stoker, who lived from 1847 to 1912, may have drawn on stories he heard as a child about the cholera epidemic that hit London and Paris in 1849. As in times of plague, there were many cases of hasty burial of sick bodies which were not really dead but in a deep sleep or coma. Stoker's idea about vampires could have been fueled by reports of the so-called dead tapping on their coffins, turning in their graves, or showing other signs of life.
singing, y'all. Wow. Look out. What is it good for? Absolutely. Now listen to me. Oh, wow. I despise.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, on the X Zone Broadcast Network and on classic1220.ca. That's, let me see. Wow. What a great show this has been. First of all, Brooks, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Always a great pleasure talking to you. What would you do, Brooks, if the people of the United States just decided that, based on the way that you look at things, based on listening to you on this interview, that they're putting you as president of the United States? What would be the first thing you'd do?
I would call up one representative from each of the agencies, and I would pull them to the congressional auditorium that holds about 600 people. I would close the doors, and I would say, by the time this meeting is over, half of you will be without a job. It's okay. We're going to give you 90 days severance pay. It'll be the best severance you ever had. We're going to run this government, and we're going to take another look at it in 6 months. If we're still not spending less than we take in, we're going to do this again.
Do you think that the United Nations is necessary in today's world?
No. I think we have electronic means that all nations can be in communication with one another. I don't know if you've ever been to the United Nations building in New York. I have. It has the best buffet lunch you ever ate in your life.
Well, that's one way of remembering the United Nations, I guess. So
it is nothing but a big glutton fest. That's all it is.
I still try to understand what they accomplish, if anything.
Well, they go through a lot of prime rib every day. They go through a lot of prime rib every day, and a lot of world-class wines.
Well, there's reason for me to go to New York City to the United Nations. Number one, for the buffet, and number two, for the wine. Maybe I'll have the pleasure of meeting you there, Brooks.
Well, it'll be my pleasure. I've been there a couple times. So.
Brooks, with everything that's going on in between the United States and Asia, and even the intercepts that are happening to Canadian military in international waters, do you see this culminating into an actual confrontation?
No, I don't. I think this is all a lot of posturing right now. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of firepower in the Eastern Mediterranean and in the Red Seas right now, but it's all a trap. Most of the world leaders see it. Putin sees it. Xi sees it. And unfortunately, Virtual Joe and his gang of criminals, they don't see it. But there are others that do, and they are holding us back from it. So this isn't going to end in World War III. We're not going to have that. We might have a few skirmishes here inside the United States, but that will end very quickly and very decisively. World War III is not coming.
How about the what's going on in the Middle East between Israel and the Gaza?
Well, it's obvious to the most casual observer that what happened on October 7th was a staged event. Everybody knew about it, including the New York Times and CNN. Everybody was prepared for it, budgeted for it, planned for it. Why? Because a political cripple named Benjamin Netanyahu, and that's what he was on October 6th, mm-hmm. needs to become the most powerful man in the Middle East. And that's what happened on October 7th. Unfortunately, a few thousand Israelis, innocent Israelis and innocent Gazans had to lose their lives to make him powerful. But it's just like what happened when George W. Bush, also a political cripple in the year 2000, climbed aboard that pile of rubble in New York City and grabbed that megaphone. That day, he became the most powerful man in the world.
Going back to September 11th, do you think that it was an inside job, as many conspiracy theorists believe, or do you believe that Al-Qaeda was actually responsible for the attacks on the Twin Towers as well as the Pentagon?
I only deal in facts, and it was an inside job.
I remember watching those towers fall, and I couldn't understand how anybody could actually not have any idea that it might in fact have been an inside job. How could this be suppressed for so long?
That day, I fell for it. I fell for it just like everybody else. I was sad and I was enraged at the same time. And I have to admit, I willingly handed over my rights that year, just like everyone else did, and I regret it. But now I'm smarter and wiser, and I will never do that again.
A couple of the books that you've written over the years, Brooks, include The Arc of a Million Years. I believe there's 4 volumes. Alienated Nation, Remembering the Future, The Physics of the Soul, and Time Travel, Birth Trilogy, 3 volumes. Any more books coming?
And then, Birth Trilogy we're trying to turn into film right now. That's really the series of books everyone needs to read right now. That series of books would save the world.
Can you give us a short version of what they're about?
Yeah. Birth is a series of 3 novels that tells the story or answers the question, what if Earth is actually a sentient being that has a symbiotic relationship with the humans that live on it? When humans are wicked, the Earth rises up and has an allergic reaction and spanks mankind back down to a few tribes. When mankind is good, the Earth blesses mankind and he prospers. But the last 200 years, mankind grew too fast. We grew too fast, and now there are 8 billion of us, and half of us are wicked and half of us are good. So the Earth can't decide whether to destroy us or whether to release its bounty to us. So it decides to split back into its original form that it was in the book of Genesis, a spirit Earth and a physical Earth, and mankind splits with it.
What are your final thoughts tonight, Brooks, that you'd like to share with the Exo Nation? What message could we share around the world right now?
Well, I think we're going to get through this. I think we have some very immature and very selfish world leaders right now, but don't be afraid, because we, the people, have great love in our hearts, and we understand more than people give us credit for. We're going to get through this. We're going to outlive these leaders that are in power right now. And a new age is going to begin. Yes, it's the end of the age. It's the end of a bad age. And a new age is about to begin. So paddle hard, look over your shoulder, and ready for the ride.
One final question. What do you think COVID really was?
COVID was probably a man-made disease that was released before it was ready. It was utilized as a tool to make people afraid so that they could shut down the world and kill the Trump economy. They knew they had to take back the ownership of the strongest economy in the world, and they knew they could not do that as long as the Trump economy was doing well. So they had to destroy it. And the only way to do that was to lock down the middle class. Oh, they allowed the global multi-billion-dollar corporations to do business as normal, but they shut down the middle class. That's what it was about. Make no mistake about it.
Do you think in the new world, as you see it, there will be the need for religious philosophies that we have today?
No. I think all religions were created by the Nephilim, by the Watchers who were here on the earth. No belief should teach men to hate other men, and that's what religions do. We don't need religions. We have a direct connection to God.
Wow. All right, I have to ask you this because you've got your fingers on the pulse of the American political system. Do you think Trump will get back in?
Yes, and it'll happen before the election happens, because they are not going to let this election happen. They already realize what inevitability is ahead of them, and they realize that Virtual Joe, that's what I call him, and Joe Biden isn't really the president. It's the person who's writing the words behind the glass that's the president. But they don't have a bench. They have no players to send into the game. So they're going to try to stop the election from happening in the first place. And that's when proper powers will step in and make sure that the election happens. So Trump will return, and what we used to call the establishment, I call the global syndicate, they're going to lose power all over the world. It's happening. Watch it.
Is there a difference between the global syndicate and the New World Order?
No, really. The New World Order is really the old world order, and it goes way back. Thousands of years they've been controlling the world this way. I call them the global syndicate because there's 4 components to it. There's a military end, a political end, a financial end, and, of course, what I call the global media empire. But now, you and me, Rob, we are the mainstream media. There's the fake street news, but we are the mainstream media.
Well, this guy is happy to have you here on this show anytime, Brooks. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Continued success, and I look forward to the next time you're here with us in the X Zone. Until then, take care, my friend.
Thank you.
X Zone
Thanks so
Nation,
much.
if you'd like to get more information about our guest this hour, Brooks Agnew, visit him online at brooksagnew.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. You can hear us on the X Zone Broadcast Network at www.xzbn.net and, of course, on our new affiliate here in St. Catharines, classic1220.ca. I'm Rob McConnell. Don't go away.